Calaroga Shark Media.
Hello, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Saturday Night Live, which we're going to talk about every day for the next 8 months, is back tonight with a new episode. Nate Bergatze is your host. He did some promos. Let's listen.
Hi, I'm Nate Bergatze, and I'm hosting SNL this week with musical guest Coldplay, and live from New York.
Nope, sorry, you don't do that right now.
But we're on the stage.
Yeah, but there's nobody here, and it's Thursday.
A lot of rules in this place. Hi, I'm Nate Bergatze, and I'm hosting SNL this week with musical guest Coldplay.
Season 50, let's go!
So, Keenan, you have been on the show 50 whole years. That's amazing. How does it feel?
No, I haven't been on the show.
I mean, you had to be 10 probably when you started?
You think I'm 60
Dude,
years
you
old?
look amazing for your age.
You do.
Oh, thanks, Coldplay.
Nate was on with Seth Meyers and explained how he struggled with the cue cards last year. Nate explained that he has trouble distinguishing between black, brown, green, and red, which are all colors they use on the cue cards to distinguish who says what. Nate didn't tell the team about his colorblindness. Everybody figured it out when he was rehearsing last time around. He said, during one of the rehearsals, I was reading all of Heidi's lines in my head. I thought the whole card was me. He said he was surprised how many lines he seemed to have. It's not really making sense, but I'll trust Saturday Night Live. Who am I to know? Heidi let Nate run with it, thinking it was just a case of a host calling the shots. This time they have it all figured out in advance. The Hollywood Reporter had done that big article with Lorne Michaels and asked Lorne, was there a host Lorne wished he had snagged but never did? Lorne said, we tried very hard for Clint Eastwood, particularly in the 70s. Movie stars in that period did not do TV. Occasionally they did with us, but there was a real chance of being humiliated in front of millions of people. We don't pay anything, so you'd have to do it because you were game for it. In the end, pretty much everyone has come on, so there's no one out there where I'd go, oh, if this person would just do it, my life would be complete. Michael Che chimed in and said, my white whale at this point would be Denzel Washington. He's like our Brando, and it'd be amazing just to see him be silly and funny. Lorne discussed how he is not going to step away after the 50th anniversary. I still think it makes total sense. Lorne's getting up there, and it would be the right time to get out. But Lorne says, I think there are not many network shows left, and this one has taken on an importance. It's more about keeping it on course than anything else. And obviously, I really love it. And every year, there are more and more people that I rely on for other things. But in the end, you really need someone to say, this is what we're doing. So I don't really have an answer as to when he'll go. I just know it's kind of what I do. And as long as I can keep doing it, I'll keep doing it. There's no immediate plan. Jost chimed in and said, you'd think there'd be a lot of speculation about the succession internally, but there really isn't because no one who works there thinks he's leaving. Everyone's busy figuring out what the bigger problem is this week. I think everyone thinks we plan way more ahead than we do, but you have to deal with all the speculation from the outside and everybody asking you, who's it going to be? Chase says maybe a lot of it has to do with being a child of divorce, but I don't want to think about Lorne leaving. I mean, nobody wants to face the reality that at some point he won't be doing it. Honestly, I don't think it could ever be done by one person again. I think it'll be a full committee. The show is in his image. I think people appreciate when he's not around anymore how much he actually has done for comedy. Any other show loses a star like Will Ferrell and the show's not the same. SNL's lost maybe 30 of the biggest comedy stars of all time and it's still on and relevant. Joe said, it's actually humiliating for Will Ferrell. The Phoenix New Times spoke to Marc Maron. The question, do you think a woke world kills comedic creativity or makes it more intelligent? Maron said, I don't think either of those things are true. I'd tell you what happened, everything's become more fragmented. I don't think there's a common culture dialogue going on. I think because of the fragmentation of the media universe, people are able to build their own bubbles and serve their own people. The Phoenix New Times followed that up with, a fart joke will always be funny, right? Maron, I don't think anybody's anti-fart humor. I think it might be considered a little easy and a little base, but I do think the idea of comedy that basically tells vulnerable, marginalized people to suck it up and take a hit, that's a different thing. New Times. Dave Chappelle tried it with the trans community. It didn't go well. Maron, after thinking about it long and hard outside of his obsession with the trans reality, I think ultimately if he's methodical about what he does, which I think he is, I think initially what he was most upset about was there were a bunch of anonymous and angry voices through social media had the power to destroy people. I feel like he had people close to him that were affected by that, and I feel like he felt that was wrong. I really think that's the base of his attack, was to keep comedy free, whether that got misdirected ultimately, which I think it did. Ultimately, it's about encouraging your freedom to live the life you want to live. If you're not comfortable with somebody else's way of living, the democratic idea is you figure out a way towards tolerance and acceptance, and once you remove tolerance and acceptance from the conversation, it really throws a wrench into the gears of the democratic idea. So if you're a wrench, you should at least know what it means to be doing what you're doing. Jim Jefferies has the cover of Rolling Stone New Zealand. Not all his diehard fans are stoked about Jim changing a little bit. Jim says, people write to me all the time going, you used to be much funnier, and I feel like going, what are you? I was much funnier, and other people, I'm much funnier now. I'm just trying to evolve. I think it would have been very sad for me to be in my 50s wearing the tight leather jacket with a cigarette hanging out of my mouth saying effing C-word all the time and someone's a bitch or something. You know what I mean? So you just evolve to where you are as a person. Jim is clinically depressed and said, I'm not on meds for the first time in many, many years, so I must be in a pretty good state, but I always keep an eye on it. I find therapy is the key for me, and marrying my wife helped a lot as she makes me happy, but just the fact that I know there's somebody who's got my back all the time, so no matter how bad things have got, I got my best friend with me all the time. Hasan Minhaj, profiled by Esquire, in his new stand-up special, he says brown people are more racist than white people, quoting Hasan. What I was doing was saying, let me bring you in our community. You think they're the problem? Oh, we got some problems ourselves. We don't talk about beige guilt and the idea of beige guilt and reconciling paradoxes like simultaneously. I'm fighting the problems and I'm part of the problem. I'm here to evoke what we're really saying on WhatsApp. After this special, he says, I've already written my next stand-up show. It involves the stage and another comedian in an interesting way. A line producer looked at it and said, I don't want to budget this, but I'm excited. I felt this before, and it's exciting because it feels new and weird. Shain, Brenden, good buzz on him, right? He talked about the crowds in Portland and said, as much as I appreciate the Portland crowd, I've also had shows where I walk away thinking they're being overly sensitive. You got to take the good with the bad. I embrace all of it because it helped me get to where I am now and move forward. His new album is called Either Way Pretty Funny. The title of the album comes from a joke Brenden tells about being biracial with a black father and a Filipino mother, and of a comment someone left below on an online clip. Shain remembered the comment, which says, this is either the blackest Asian dude I've ever seen or the most Asian black guy I've ever seen. Either way, pretty funny. Over the years, I've had conversations with buddies, other comedians. They ask, how come you don't talk more about your parents? You're basically a first-generation American born with immigrant parents. There's a period of time when a lot of comics, that's all they talk about. That's all people wanted to hear. More power to them. I've got buddies who talk about race and identity stuff. There's so many things I talk about that I want to talk about. I guess it never really crossed my mind to put that in the forefront. I'm over here just trying to talk about how to handle this kid or whether or not to get fussed at my wife and daughter. That's where I'm at. Trying to write a joke is hard enough as it is. But I don't think I'd purposely sit and be like, let's talk more about my race and identity here in this next chunk. If you missed it, he was my guest on last Saturday's episode. Got good reviews of that one. I liked it. Hope you check it out. The LA Times had profiled Tom Segura and Christina P's podcasting empire. Christina talked about how the show has always been a showcase of the couple's ability to push every boundary. Christina says, we've had children, we've moved a bunch, and now we're these middle-aged people, and the fans have been there the whole time. We have these relationships with fans you'd have with your friends or family. The crazy thing is, you forget how much they know about you. So when someone walks up to you and is like, is Charo good? You forget that you relayed all this stuff on the air, and now this guy knows so much about me. Tom says we have a no a-hole policy here. I had the same policy at Sirius. There were some people that were just annoying, and I just chose not to work with them. It's a good policy to have. High five, Tom Segura. No one who works here is an a-hole, and that makes it a pleasure to come to the studio and work. Yeah, you start working with like poison people. It just ruins everything for everyone. It's just not worth it. I don't care how famous you are. Christina says, we seriously love everyone who works here, all of the hosts and the staff, and of course, all the fans. It's like a family. Kevin MacDonald, Kids in the Hall, he's going to make his directorial feature debut. The film is called 1 Week Left, written by Kevin. 1 Week Left is about an aging rock star that's headed to jail for committing fraud against his best friend. Having 1 week before he heads off to the big house, he gets in his car and takes off on an apology tour. Kevin said, wait, I'm starring in this too? I must start reading these contracts. In that case, I guess I'm excited for all the hard work it's going to take for me to bring this script to life. This is a story that literally couldn't be done without me, so I'm excited to be working with myself and Farpoint Films on it. Ali Sadiq is taping his next comedy special. Let me check the calendar here. Today and tomorrow, he'll be at the Majestic Theater in Dallas. And that is your comedy news for today. If you would like the program without commercials, there's a link in the show notes to tell you how it works. Short version, $5 a month. See you tomorrow.